She sells seashells on the seashore. Oh shit, are we live? Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Raw Law Unfiltered with your host of the DUI Guy Plus. Boy, oh boy, what little nugget treat do I have for you today? Are you guys ready for this? Amber Heard, once again, our protagonist, loved by so few and hated by so many, hiding away in the outskirts of Madrid, downtown of Madrid, Mallorca, wherever the fuck that woman is now, but who cares? You are not here to hear about. That sounded weird. Here to hear. Why would you say that? Anyway, you are not here to hear about where her whereabouts are. You want to know what is happening to this witch, right? So we now have a full and final timeline, and I'm sure Johnny Depp is all but rejoiced that this woman is this endless suffering. Meanwhile, he is at the premiere at the Cannes Festival. I think I'm finally pronouncing that correctly, although I'm probably wrong. And again, French people, please don't hate me or kill me. I feel the baton already beating me over the head. No, Mr. Officer, please. Ooh, harder over there. No. Anyway, so where was I? I lost my train of thought. Yes, Amber, timeline, trials. Okay, where are we? Are you ready? We are back in California, the Central District of California. We have two jury trials, right? Or two cases, I suppose. They're both on the way to a potential jury trial. Okay, just bear with me here. You have, on the one hand, you have New York Marine that is suing Amber Heard for a declaration from the court to determine whether or not they should be paying a declaratory judgment for her sins, basically. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we have Travelers versus New York Marine, basically doing the exact same thing, saying, Travelers, New York Marine, pay your damn shit. Okay, we paid, now it's your turn to pay. Okay, so that is basically where we are. Okay. We are going to be talking about both cases simultaneously. And here's what I mean. Check this out. Okay. So this was filed not that long ago, just a few days ago, in both cases. Now pay attention. This is very, very, very important. You blink and you'll miss it. You see at the very, very top here, you have case 222, CV 05832. These are the 5 numbers you need to pay attention to, because when I press the control tab button here in just a second, you will see those numbers change. You ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. See? Those numbers completely change. Even those numbers changed a little bit. This was a 221. This is a 04685. Okay. Now they're both in the Central District of California, so they look almost identical. But now, as you can see, I'm flipping back and forth, and you see how the numbers right here keep changing, right? This is 2 different documents filed in 2 different lawsuits in the Central District of California that are exactly identical. You see the case number here changing, and there's a reason for that, because both of these are going to be applicable in both cases. The first one is Travelers Commercial Insurance Company versus New York Marine and General Insurance Company, and the second one is New York Marine versus Amber Heard, our protagonist in this case, okay? So these two are exactly identical. Absolutely identical in structure, in form, and they are going to be both relevant for both cases. Okay, this is what Judge Wu wants. It's a simple consolidation of the facts. It's a simple consolidation of the matters. It's a simple consolidation of the scheduling agreement between the parties. Now, last we left her, she is begging the court for mercy. She's asking the court to dismiss her action, or New York Marine's action against her. Okay, saying like it's already said and done. Please leave me alone. I'm tired of being sued. This has been like my life for the last 5 years or so. So these are entirely identical. You can go check it out yourself. You have the numbers. Go into Pacer. You can verify this independently, but I'm telling you it's true. There they are. They're exactly the same. So we're just going to cover this one because I think it fits on the one page, or yeah, this one fits on the one page. So what's happening here, okay? So in both of these cases, Judge George Wu presiding, we have the deputy clerk, and these proceedings, this is a scheduling order. We have no attorneys present in the courtroom when this is happening. This is basically the judge kind of writing these orders, okay? It's a scheduling order. The court has received. Now, there were two joint status reports, which we're not going to cover. It is basically the parties saying, New York Marine saying, this is what we want to do. Traveler saying, this is what we want to do. Amber saying, this is what we want to do. This was all filed with the court. And now the court says, boom, this is what's going to happen. Okay, that's what we're covering right here, right now. The court has received the parties' joint report status, which was filing 120, based thereon on the June 15th status conference that happened last week. I think that was Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that was taken off calendar. The court now adopts, Judge Wu says, only some of the dates proposed by the parties and sets the following schedule for the remainder of this litigation. Okay? So, August 31st, 2023, which is only like 2 months and a week from now, that is the deadline to hold private mediation. Now, what does that mean? For those of you unfamiliar with the legal system, especially here in America, there are really 4 ways to resolve a case when you really think about it, okay? Maybe you could call it 5. The first is to settle. That's the easiest one. The second is to get it dismissed. Just drop it. The third is to get a jury or a court to issue an order or a decision or render a verdict. Or you can go to these 2 fancy little archetypes, if you will, of potential settlement. One is called mediation, one is called arbitration. Let's talk about arbitration first, since this is not what's going to be happening here. Arbitration is actually, if you read your credit card statement, believe it or not, if you want to sue your own credit card company, for example, arbitration is mandatory. You can't go to the court and be like, I want to sue MasterCard. MasterCard will be like, the court will be like, you have to go home. We are not going to accept this case. It's called a very, very sneaky tactic. It's basically like you can't argue against it. Okay, so you have to go to this arbiter, and basically they act like a judge. It's kind of like a mediation. The only problem is at the very end of the mediation, there is going to be a decision, and you are stuck with that decision. The arbiter will basically put down the metaphorical gavel, and you say, "Boom! This is my decision, whether you like it or not." And there's very little avenue for appeal. However, and this is the final way of resolving cases, this is what this case is scheduled for by August 31st. So they have about 9 weeks, almost 10 weeks to get this done. Mediation is basically the parties sitting around at a big table, okay? And there's the mediator, and the mediator goes, what do you want? The party, the plaintiff will say what they want. And what do you want? The defendant will say what they want. And then they'll do something called caucusing. They'll separate the parties, put them in 2 separate rooms, and they'll try and float. Let's say if the only hang up is the damages, okay, the amount of money, for example, the mediator will try and bring them as close together as possible. And then maybe at the worst case scenario, split the baby so that they can come to an agreement. That's it. That's what mediation is about. Mediation is not binding. It's not mandatory. It is usually optional, but in civil, like circuit court cases, federal court cases, sometimes it can be mandatory. But all it has to, mandatory is such a loose term. Like you actually just have to show up and put in good faith effort. If you don't settle, you don't settle. There's no, it's not mandatory to settle the case. Otherwise, there'd be no point in having jury trials, right? So that's the deadline, August 31st, for Amber Heard, New York Marine travelers to basically play nice and come to some sort of an agreement if they can. That's the deadline by Judge Wu to set mediation. Now, 5 days thereafter, that is the deadline to notify Judge Wu of the result of the mediation in a joint report regarding settlement. What does that mean? After you held the mediation, you have 5 days, make a report. How did it go? Were you successful? Yay or nay? And did you settle the case? If not, we keep going. If you settled, fantastic. Everybody go home. It's over. Then, September 7th, there's going to be a status conference. So after you submitted this joint report to me, Judge Wu, I want you to tell me in your own words what happened and how it happened. I don't want to just have it on paper. That's 2 days after that. Now, assuming everything falls apart and there is no settlement amongst the parties, on October 19th this year is the non-expert discovery cutoff. So any discovery that is not related to experts, that's the deadline. So if you need something after that deadline, too bad, so sad. You missed the deadline. Courts like to set these deadlines. Otherwise, we'll never have jury trials because 3 years down the road, some lawyer schmuck will be like, oh my God, I completely forgot to ask for this. And it's like 5,000 pages of evidence. You know what I mean? So courts like to move things along this way. And then, of course, initial rebuttal and total expert discovery cutoff dates are November 2nd, November 30th, and December 20th. Now, remember, initially, last we left them, the jury trial, I believe, was set sometime in December like 9th or December 12th. I can't, December 16th, somewhere in the beginning of December, like a couple weeks before Christmas is the number I have ringing in my ear. I just can't remember precisely what it is. That has since been bumped. As you can see from this scheduling order, this is an order. This is not a projection or a conjecture or a proposal. This is final. This is what Judge Wu is saying. January 29th of next year is the last day to hear any types of motions. Okay? That is the last day, other than motions in limine or limine, depending on what part of the country you're from. It's a French word. We don't know how to pronounce French words, i.e., can, le con, festival. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so last day to hear any motions other than the motions in limine is January 29th of next year. And there is going to be a final pretrial conference on February 15th. And then the jury trial is now set February 27th. And that's it. Like I said, this is the exact same thing in the other case. So both cases are all but consolidated. I mean, it's kind of hard to say, but it appears that Judge Wu is like, look, we're dealing with the same issues. We're dealing with the same problem. We're dealing with the same bitch. I mean, the same woman. We're dealing with the same questions for the most part. Unless they get dismissed by the court on a motion for summary judgment or the motion on the pleadings that was filed that we covered in the previous video. If you have not seen that video, go to this playlist right here that you're in and go up one video. I believe I did that just previously. By the way, a shout out, Hearts United Garth Strength. Thank you for becoming a new member. And thank you, Piggy. Thank you, Larry, for explaining this stuff. I hope I did a good job. I hope you learned something. I hope I'm trying to be as clear as I possibly can. So it's really, really getting tense as timelines are crunching. I mean, that's it. Amber is in a box. You have to understand, Amber is in a tiny little cubicle. Hiding in Madrid is not going to get you out of your legal troubles, Amber. I mean, look, I understand. You're a human being, I think. Not really sure anymore. But anyway, you pretend to be a human being. And so at the very least, you try to avoid trauma and negative emotion, even though you like to inflict that upon others, but you don't like to receive it. Hypocrite. Anyway, so you're hiding in Mallorca, you're hiding in Madrid, whatever the hell you're doing, that's fine. Whatever. Do you, girl, whatever. Just stay out of the public's eye. Nobody wants to see that. Like, seriously. Anyway, while this case is pending, I mean, that's it. The deadlines are set. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to be final and set in stone. Things get shifted sometimes. All one party has to do is come to the other party and say, look, we need more time for this. And they go, yeah, we need more time for this too. How about we put an extension from September to November? Okay, fantastic. Now the jury trial gets pushed from December to February. Now it's February to April, April to June. We may have a jury trial next month. We may have, or next year, next June, we may have a jury trial next February. It's definitely not going to be sooner than next February, or it may never happen at all, especially if they settle the case, if the case gets resolved. I mean, that's going to be the end to it. So, before I leave you, I do want to, last time I completely omitted this fact, Zinni is sound asleep. I just want to show you my beautiful kitty one more time before we sign off. Zinni. Somebody's calling me. Why is somebody calling me? This is like the worst time. But anyway, this is her. She's resting. So we're going to let her be. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Chad. I will see you all next time. I love every single one of you. Peace and love.